Hello all, welcome to Nobel Forensics. I am Sowmya Gajula. Here I am explaining about the bloodstain patterns. So there is two parts in the bloodstain patterns. One is the factors which are affecting or which are influencing the bloodstain patterns, and second one is the different types of bloodstain patterns. Then what are the bloodstain patterns? So in different crime scenes, we can see that different designs of the blood stains or different patterns of the blood stains. Like in some cases, in some crime scenes, we can see only drops of blood, but in other crime scenes, we see that dragging marks of the blood stains. And in some other crimes, we see different pools of the blood. So these all are the different patterns of the blood. So you can able to see in this picture there is different types of blood stain patterns. So these patterns or these designs of blood stains, they will give some information related to the crime. So whenever there is any blood stains at the crime scene, then not only the blood, whatever the design of the blood stain or whatever the pattern of the blood stain, that will also give some information related to the crime scene. So they will help to reconstruct the crime scene events, or crime scene events. Like if there is only drops of blood at the crime scene, then it means there is only minor injury. And if there is any large amount of the blood or pools of blood, then it could be a major injury. And if there is any dragging marks of the blood stain, which means some object which is dragged through the blood stains. So the whatever the blood stain patterns present at the crime scene, they give some information related to the crime scene. So they will definitely help in the reconstruction of the crime scene. So before going to the blood stain patterns, how actually these blood stains are formed? So there is some procedure to formation of these blood drops or blood droplet. So if there is any injury on the tissue, then from the injury, the blood will come out of the body. So whatever the blood which is coming out of the body, it will become excess on that surface of the injury. Then it will try to fall off from that surface. So that whenever it is trying to fall off from the surface, there is actually four types of forces which are viscosity. Four types of things which influence these formation of blood droplets. So the first one is viscosity. So there is difference between the water and blood. Blood is somewhat thick, which is the viscosity. Due to the viscosity nature of the blood, it will try to fall off the surface of injury. And also surface tension on that injured area. So on that injured area, because of that surface tension, that blood will try to fall off from the surface. Then cohesion force. So actually this one blood drop, which is actually combination of smaller sized blood drops. There is many smaller sized blood drops in one blood drop. So the force in between the smaller sized blood drops is the cohesion force. So that cohesion force also influence to make this blood droplet. Then gravitational pull of the earth or surface, which also which will because of that gravity, there is formation of blood droplets. So there is four things: viscosity of the blood, surface tension on the injured area, then cohesion force in between the blood droplet, and also gravitational pull. So these will influence in the formation of the blood droplet. So whenever there is an injury, then there is formation of the blood stain or blood droplet. Then there is actually different characteristics of the blood stain, and which are actually influenced by the different factors. So there is different factors which affect the size and shape of the blood stain. So size and shape of the blood stain, which means pattern of the blood stain. So what are that factors actually? For example, if there is 1 ml of the blood which is falling on any smoother surface like glass, then it will definitely forms round shaped blood stain. But the same 1 ml of the blood, if it is falling on any absorbent surface like paper or cloth, then there is not definitely round shaped forms, because there is some amount of the blood will get absorbed into that cloth or that whatever the absorbent surface like paper or cloth. But in case of glass or smoother surface like any tiles, then there is no any absorbing of the blood. So there is formation of the round blood stain. So this is one factor. So surface texture is the one factor which influence this pattern of the blood stain. Then distance from blood source. So if the blood, 1 ml of the blood, if it is falling from the 1 meter of distance, then the same 1 ml of the blood which is falling from the 2 meters of the distance, then definitely there is difference between the patterns of the two blood stains. So distance will influence the formation of these blood stain. Then volume of blood. So if there is 1 ml of the blood, then it will form a smaller sized blood stain. But if there is large amount of the blood, then it will definitely forms different kind of the blood stain. So this is also one factor. Then force or speed or velocity of the blood droplets. For example, if there is a normal injury on the hand, like with a knife, if there is any cut on the hand, then there is formation of few blood droplets, and that blood droplets are actually in the bigger size or larger size, because there is only low force or there is only less amount of the force. While making the injury, there is only applying less amount of the force. But in case of bullet injury, in case of firearm bullet injury, there we are using large amount of the force, so in that case the blood droplets actually in the very smaller size, and also there is large number of the blood stains. So the force whenever we are applying the whenever we are applying the less force, medium force and high force, then there is difference of the blood stains or blood droplets, so that force also will affect the blood stain patterns. Then direction and angle of impact. For example, if 1 ml of blood or if a drop of blood, if it is falling from the 90-degree angle or in the straight angle, then definitely it forms a round shaped blood stain. But if it is in some angle like 30-degree angle, 40-degree angle, then it will form some exclamatory mark shaped blood stain. So this direction and angle will affect that blood stain pattern. So these are actually what are the factors which influence the blood stain characteristics. So these factors means the forensic expert who are going to analyze these blood stains at the crime scene, before collecting the blood stains, they should go for analysis of these blood stain patterns analysis. So these are actually the factors which influence the blood stain patterns. So from the blood stain patterns, they can go for analyzing these factors actually. So force, for example, force based on the blood stain pattern or number of the blood stains, size of the blood stains at the crime scene, they can identify force. They can estimate the force which is applied on the injury, and also volume of blood. So based on the amount of whatever the amount of the blood present at the crime scene, they can identify that volume of blood, and also direction and angle of impact. So based on that blood stain pattern, whether it is round shaped or exclamatory mark shaped, or in different, there is different shapes in different angles. Whenever there is an injury in the different angles, or whenever there is blood stain formation in different angles, they can produce different patterns. So based on that patterns, they can identify that angle. Angle means here the angle between the injury and also blood stain. Here the angle means the angle between the blood stain and also the injury. Here injury means which is actually source of the blood. So the angle between the source of the blood and blood stain which is present on the crime scene. So the angle between these two, based on the pattern or size or shape of this blood stain, we can able to identify that angle. Actually, these are the 5 factors which influence these patterns of the blood stains. So I'll explain individually about these things. First one is the surface texture. So harder and non-porous surfaces like glass, smooth tile, they will result in less spatter, means there is less spattering because they are non-absorbent surfaces. Then rough surfaces like carpet, wood, usually they form irregularly shaped stain with a satellite spatter. So you just observe the first one, which is on the glass surface, which is non-absorbent and non-porous surface. So there is formation of round blood stain, only one individual blood stain. Then coming to the second one, which is actually porous one, which is absorbent one, which is cotton surface. So there is not only formation of one blood stain, but also there is surrounding many blood stains. So if the main central blood stain is the parental blood stain, and whatever the surrounding, which we can call satellite blood stain or satellite spatter. You can understand in this image. So this is the parental stain. This is actually parental stain, and the second one, this tail is actually the satellite stain, because this satellite stain is actually formed from the parent stain. So it is, this is parent stain and satellite stain. So this is based on different surfaces, based on different surfaces. So whenever they are doing investigation on these blood stains, they can identify first what is that surface, whether it is absorbent surface or non-absorbent surface. Then only they can go for further analysis of the blood stains, blood stain patterns. Then after the surface of the pattern, the second factor is the distance. So you can able to see in this image, these all are the different blood stains which are actually formed because of different distances. So distance, diameter of the blood stain, which is directly proportional to the distance, which means the whatever the height increases, then diameter of the stain also increases. So if distance of fall increases, then diameter of the blood drop also increases. Then till it reaches maximum diameter. Then what is the maximum diameter? It is approximately 1.8 meters or 6 feet height. Till reaches maximum diameter. What is the maximum diameter? At approximately 1.8 meters or 6 feet height. So from the blood stain at the crime scene, we can able to identify this height. So from the blood stain at the crime scene, with analyzing that blood stain diameter, we can able to identify that distance of fall. Distance of fall. So this is one factor. Next, volume of blood. So volume increases. If volume increases, definitely diameter of the blood stain increases. You can able to see in this image. Then volume directly proportional to the diameter of the stain, which means if volume increases, then diameter of the blood stain increases. But 0.05 ml, this is the average volume. But this again, it is depends on the different surfaces, like absorbent surface, non-absorbent surface. So based on the different surfaces, it varies. The average volume is varies, but the normal average volume is a 0.05 ml, which can make a complete blood stain, one blood stain. Then force velocity of the blood droplets. So the size of the blood stains which are affected by the external force. So whatever the force which is applied on the blood source. So what is the blood source? What is the blood source? If there is any injury on the head, then head is the blood source. So whenever they are hitting with a stick on the head, then head is the blood source. So because of that hitting, there is formation of the blood stains. So the blood source is the tissue. Then low force, medium force, and high force. So in the low force cases, whenever applying low force on any tissue, then there is only formation of the few drops, and that drops are in the larger size. Then whenever applying medium force, then the number of droplets, it is actually in between the low force and high force. Then diameter of the blood stains is 1 mm usually whenever applying medium force. Then high force, like in case of gunshot injuries, in the firearm bullet injuries, there is thousands of blood drops will put in flight. So there is very smaller sized blood stains, which is actually in the large number. So this is, so now we know about the low force, medium force, and high force. So whenever we are observing at the crime scene, from the crime scene blood stains, we should identify whether that blood drops are formed because of low force, medium force, or high force. So from the blood stains, we can able to identify that force applied, whether low force applied, medium force applied, or high force applied. Then you can able to see this images. The first one is actually because of medium force. Then in the second image, it is actually because of high force. So you can able to see the difference between these two images and these two blood drops. The first one is because of medium force, that blood stain size is larger than the high force blood stains, and in case of high force, there is large number of the blood stains which are in the very smaller size. So this is about the force. Then coming to the direction and angle of impact, which is having major value or major importance in the forensic cases. I mean, it is about the bloodstain pattern analysis. In bloodstain pattern analysis, this angle identification is the major thing. So the shapes of the spatter stains are affected by the angle of impact. So this is called the acute angle. For example, if a drop is falling from the 90-degree angle, then there is formation of round shape. But whenever it is from the different angles like 30 degrees, 40 degrees, 50 degrees, then the shape of the blood stain will different. It is not actually in the round shape. But whenever it is from the 90-degree angle, then only it is in the round shape. So based on the shape of the blood stain, we can identify that angle, that acute angle. Again, angle means it is between the blood stain and blood source. The angle is between the blood source and blood stain. So that is the angle, acute angle. So when a blood drop lands on any surface in perpendicular angle, which means 90-degree angle, then it is in a circular stain, circular parent stain, because there is only one stain. Circular means the length and width is equal, length and width are equal, which means circular stain. Then at an angle, like in between the 0 to 90-degree angle, the stain is elongated, not it is actually in the round shape. Whenever it is in the 90-degree angle, then only it is in the round shape, and whenever it is between the 0 to 90 degrees, then the stain was elongated. It is not actually round shape, it is elongated. So you can able to see here the first one it is actually in the 90-degree angle. So it is in the straight perpendicular angle or in the 90-degree angle. Then the second one, it is at 50 degrees angle, and third one is 20 degrees angle. Then the last one is at 10 degrees angle. So at the crime scene, with observing these blood stains, we should identify what is the angle between the blood stain and blood source. So if there is this third kind of blood stains, then we can estimate the angle between the blood stain and blood source, which is nearly 20 to 30 degrees. So as the impact angle decreases, the shape of the spatter stain is more elongated, in which the length of the stain is greater than the width. So you can able to see in the first image, this is circular one, and the circular one means its length and width are equal. Then coming to the last one, it is at actually 10-degree angle. So this is the length. So whatever you are able to see the length, which is actually length, then this is the width. This is the width. So whenever the angle is decreasing from the 90 degrees to 10 degrees, whenever this angle is decreasing, then length is increasing and width is decreasing. Length is increasing and width is decreasing. This is how formation of the blood stains because of different angles. So there is one formula to identify these angles. Whenever we are observing these blood stains at the crime scene, to identify the angle, we use one formula, which is actually sin alpha is equal to width by length. So here width means blood stain width, then length means blood stain length. So here you can able to see this image. So you can able to see this tail actually indicates direction of the traveling. So this tail will indicates direction of traveling. I'm just going to the back slide. So you can able to see actually these second, third, fourth images. This is actually traveling from the above to the downwards. So there is formation of tail in the downwards. So based on this tail, we can able to identify the direction of traveling. So from these images, we can able to identify that blood is traveling from the above direction to the below direction or down direction. So at the crime scene also, based on this tail portion of the blood stains, we can able to identify the direction of traveling. So this is actually length. So we can use this formula for identifying the sin angle. So this impact angle or impact angle only. So with applying this length and width of the blood stain, we can able to identify this angle. So I just added one example also here. So before that, when blood stain fall in an angle, it looks like actually exclamatory mark shape. So exclamatory mark shaped blood stain. So you can able to see here, this is actually in the form of exclamatory mark shape. So this is one previous question in the fact exam, forensic fact exam. So you can able to see this exclamatory mark shape. So whenever it is in some angle, then it looks like exclamatory shape stain. Then tail is important. As I said, tail is important while reconstructing the blood stain patterns because it indicates that direction of traveling. Then coming to this formula, it is sin alpha is equal to width by length, and also we can able to write it like sin A is equal to width by length. So A is impact angle. And for example, if width of the stain is 11 mm and length of the stain is 22 mm, then how we can identify the angle? So now we know the length and width of the stain. Then we are just applying whatever the length and width in this formula. So it is like 11 by 22. It is actually is equal to 0.5. So sin 0.5 is equal to 30-degree angle. So 30 degrees. So whatever the blood stain which is having 11 mm width and 22 mm length is actually fallen from the 30-degree angle. So the angle between the blood stain and blood source is actually 30 degrees. So with using this formula like this, they can able to identify these angles at the crime scene. then you can able to see this image. In the first image there is different blood stains, and actually they are fallen from different angles. In the second image you can able to see, so for individual blood stain at the crime scene they can identify that angle with using two methods. The one method is using laser light, so they can apply laser light. So if they just assume this, with using the formula, the sin A is equal to width by length, they can calculate these individual angles for these individual blood stains. Then after that they use these laser lights to identify the actual source of the blood stain or actual source of the blood. So this is one method. And in the second method, instead of these laser lights they can use these threads or strings. So they can stick these threads at that blood stain area with identifying that angle. In that angle they can take these all threads into the one area, one origin of the blood stain or source of the blood stain. So in these two methods, either with the strings or threads method and also with the laser method, they can identify this source of the blood stain. So we discussed about different factors which influence the blood stain patterns. So what are the factors we discussed? So surface texture, like harder surface, smoother surface. Harder surface are like absorbent surface like paper or cotton. And then distance from blood source, so distance also influence the blood stain pattern. Then volume of blood, whether large amount of the volume or small amount of the volume. Then force applied, like low force, medium force or high force. Then direction and angle of the impact, which is also influence the blood stains. And from the the angle is actually calculated from the blood stain with using the formula. So these all are the different factors which influence that blood stain designs or blood stain patterns. So this is about the today's video, and in the next video I'll discuss about the part 2 of blood stain patterns. In that I'll explain about the different types of blood stain patterns. I hope you are able to understand my explanations.